today we're going to debunk some of these myths that are still continuing to mislead health conscious people. Let's deal with 3 myths and let's talk around them, talk about what they are and why people should be focused on them.
Okay, sure.
Let's start with number 1. Detox diets are essential to clear toxins from the body.
Right. I mean,
what do you think about that?
Right. I mean, so you hear about this a lot, right? I mean, so I think the allure is that detoxing is easy. You know, you see a lot of these fads on TikTok and on the Instagram pages of people doing juice cleanses and just with random powders and or random random roots. Or just juices or water cleanses, right? And so I think we know that our body does have natural organs that cleanse, right? We have livers, we have our kidneys, right? We have ways we have our lymphatic system. We have to filter out things that we don't need.
So you're saying without anything else, we have these things in our body.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so the question is, why do we feel the need to even have detoxes when our body does it ourselves? Correct? And I think it's interesting. I think like many other things in health, we always want things to move fast, right? And we don't always want to take the proper steps to make things work correctly, right? And so I think sometimes with people, especially in the public, there's always just a misunderstanding of what I think is fast versus what may work the right way, correct? And we know. We've seen many nutrition experts feel like, there's studies of this, there's evidence that many times these detoxes lead to negative effects, lead to changes in the amount of malnutrition, how the electrolytes look, how the vitamins look, right? It actually can cause a deficiency many times in detoxing.
Right, and it's interesting that you bring that up because. And I like the exact quote that you said. I can't remember the full, but I'm a paraphrasing here. Why do we feel the need to detox? And I laughed because I'm thinking in my head, people detox after doing something where they put a ton of toxins in.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So maybe that's what we should talk about a lot of times with these myths. This is the first myth is maybe I should detox my body because I've been eating and drinking. I went to a cruise and I did all this stuff, and now I need to detox my body from that.
Instead of being consistent, right? I think that's the key, right? Like I think the issue is that instead of us being consistent, we always want to fall off and find the easy way to get back on the horse. In the end, we know that every day eating lean meats, eating fruits and vegetables and clean whole foods is always the best way to eat instead of us having to detox your body from a weekend of going hard, at a festival or something like that.
And even if you do go hard at the festival, still you have the liver, you have the kidneys, just eat right? And let your body detox itself.
And my question is too, no one ever talks about, okay, how, even if they did work, right, to what these claims say, how long are they working for? So I have a crazy weekend and I detox myself. Am I just back to normal for 6 to 8 months? Or, is it just like a very short-term thing?
Right, till next weekend.
And now I'm back to baseline the next weekend. Because I'm drinking next weekend too.
Right.
Did I stop?
Right.
There's no brunch on Sunday?
That's true. So realistically, it sounds like the detoxes aren't detoxing. It's just that you've stopped doing the toxification.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Well, let's roll on to the second myth. All right. So the second myth is interesting too. More sweat means more fat.
Yes, I cannot. I'm gonna tell you, as a wrestler, this was my thing, bro. Like I can tell you, as a wrestler, I had the trash bag on. Like think Rocky, so headband, sweating. I'm thinking to myself, like you will lose the water weight, but the fat is still there. Like why? It's funny how fat sweating can be an indication of how much fat is lost. We know that it's just purely for cooling us off, cooling for homeostasis in our bodies.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up about the fat loss because let's debunk a myth. It's not technically here because we will talk more about fat in this third myth, but fat doesn't go away at all.
No,
like the fat cells just get smaller. They shrink and enlarge, shrink and enlarge, shrink and enlarge. And the only people that lose fat really are like liposuction. And in that, we know that there's problems with that because what is the fat? You take fat away from the stomach. I still have fat on my hips, fat on my butt. what's going to happen when I actually start eating fat? Well, the fat on my hips and my butt are going to get
That's
bigger.
going to go where it's supposed to go. Right,
Right?
exactly.
So you can sweat all you want to, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're burning a ton of fat. Right?
Now, I'll take it away. I love having a good sweat and
Yeah.
working out because it feels good, right? I mean, and there is some type of, I guess, I think like personal, anecdotal connection. We feel like when we sweat, we had a good workout. So that makes sense, but it doesn't mean you burnt anything more than what you think you did, right? I mean, so, but also too, though, there are ways to, especially the ones like I'm thinking particularly of the sweat, the bands around your belly.
Yes.
The sweat bands.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The ones that we use. They're the ones that you see all women use
Yep.
to sweat in one spot, and then talking about spot.
Let's go to the third one.
Kind of go to that one.
All right, so the third one is you can target lost fat. So let's mix these two. We're still talking about sweat means more burn, but now we're bringing up a third myth that basically you can target lost fat in a particular area.
Yeah.
What do you think about
that? I
that?
think that's one of the biggest myths. Yeah. So I think everybody feels like if they do crunches, their abs are gonna get lean abs, right? Yeah. I mean, even if people do everything from that to stuff for back fat too, right? I mean, as owning a med spa and seeing all these patients on these new weight loss drugs, they come to me and they get upset because their perceived notion of their fat loss does not match what's actually happening to them. So I sit there and go, well, my face is still big, but well, guess what? You can't control where you lose fat. Everybody's composition is different. It might be your face first, it might be your face last. It might be your legs, it might be your back, it might be your abs. Most people have different patterns for when they lose fat, and that can be controlled at all. And so there's no real way to pick one spot and lose fat there.
Right. No, that's an excellent point, especially about your center. When I was in that realm of business, I remember talking to the cryo guy, and the cryo guy was telling me, you should buy this machine. We have all these results that show like this fat loss in this area, and it was impressive results. And then he says, but to caveat that, the best way to do this is to exercise and eat healthy,
right? And
that's where the efficiency comes from.
Well, and I don't lie to my clients in my med spa about this, because we do have body contouring machines, and they do contour.
Yes.
Like I'm not.
Yes.
The shape is improved. Like in a cryo, the shape is improved with any MS, but you're more so sculpting. You're not really. You can lean out certain spots, but you're not actually decreasing the fat in those spots. It's just more the shape. Of it all. Right.
No, it makes sense. I'm glad that you brought that part up. You don't lose the fat. The fat is shaped smaller in that particular area, but what happens if I leave your office and I go eat cheeseburgers and drink a ton of wine and beer and stuff like that?
Salt comes back in there. We read back to way before, So in the end, I think what we can say is that when it comes to all these myths, nothing is a substitution for, as we know, eating well, eating clean, and getting regular exercise. I mean, we can do this all day and talk about what is going to have the longevity for people. It's not going to be these short-term things that keep popping up. We know that, right? In the end, you need to wake up.
That's true.
And get it in.
That's true. So the three myths I think that we busted today all still have the same underlying tone.
Right.
Is that people think that they can take things away because they went hard doing maybe some toxin or fat or whatever diet they were doing. I think the important point is what you said at the end is knowing that you have to put in the work if you want to look a certain way. I talk a lot about that in my office when people come in. We talk about weight loss programs. That one of the first questions I ask them, I say, what body shape do you want? Because that determines what type of diet and what type of exercise we'll do, because you can look all types of, we can get you to look muscular, athletic, skinny. We can do swimsuit with very little fat. We can do
that
the
super
so-called
thick CrossFit
the
body.
CrossFit, kind of stocky. Get some, full, deadlifts in and stuff, compound workout. We can do all those things. But what do you want to look like? And I think that's a question that everyone needs to ask themselves. what do I want to look like? And then look at the things that you think that are going to help you get there, like these myths, and say, will this actually help me get there?
Right, exactly. I mean, and that's everything we do, right? And that comes to like when people talking about these weight loss medications that will help you lose weight, but will tend to make you lose some muscle, right? That has to do with people when they want to get on certain hormones and change their bodies too, or peptides change their bodies too. Some are good for lean muscles, some are good for losing fat. It matters how much cardio you do, right? We know that, you know, if you're just doing straight up moderate brisk walking versus HIIT training, you're gonna look different also, right? And so I think like that's important. That's a great point, you know, and I think I tend to use that. I will admit I don't ask that question enough to my patients. So thank you, Jay. I'm going to ask some more. What do you want? Not just I kind of stick to what are your goals.
Right.
But I think specifically, what do you want to look like? Exactly. Is a better question.
It's a better question. And you brought up peptides. I want to ask you, last thing before we get out of here, peptides. What's your instructions to people before they are selecting a peptide?
Yeah.
What's your brief instructions to people?
I would say this, like, I don't, you know, as a physician who's fully supportive of biohacking, like no question, like biohacking is super important, and I feel like it is effective. However, there are way too many fake companies. There are way too many Instagram and TikTok doctors giving very false information. I take care of people and do peptide therapy, but I have a very, very tried and true rigorous regimen. I know all the peptides come from. I've been to the labs. I talked to the owners. I know the testing, so I trust what I use. My peptides don't say made for research purposes. Mine say made for physician purposes. Yeah. And I think that's the big difference too, that you have. Be careful when you're using these peptides because you just don't know where they come from. Yeah. Be careful because I've seen people do some crazy dosing that's totally wrong. If you're gonna do this, you need to go to someone who knows what they're talking about, who knows what they're doing, a physician, a mid-level that has the skill set to not only address the current problems, but the problems that may come out of these that you have to address later, side effects, adverse effects, combining medicine. This is not easy to do. Right. They make it too simple on social media. Yeah. Because I say this all the time in medicine. Things are great until it's not. Right. And if you're with that person that can't control the not part, you got a problem.
I think you're right on that. I think that's a person thing, a human thing, is to make things simple. And I think we do that in healthcare too, right? I remember in my training where we're listening to like drug reps, and they'll come and they'll talk about a particular medicine. And they'll say, this medicine targets, and I'm not picking on, just picking this because it's popular. This targets GLP-1 agonists. It's gonna fix it. So this one thing that we found is gonna fix everything. I don't think so. That it just logically does not make sense.
And it's too good to be true.
Come on, it'll fix some things. Yeah, it'll help you out. It'll help you achieve your goals. But your goals were there before this was invented.
Right. And all your healthcare problems aren't gone because you're on this agonist. You still have to do what's right for yourself.
Exactly.
I think that's been my biggest problem sometimes with some clients and patients that like, look, like this stuff works, but we have a whole body to attend to here, people. Like, let's not forget that.
Right.
And we have other organs we gotta take care of people. Like, you know, so yes, the weight is gone, you may have better blood pressure, you may have, you know, better insulin control, sugar control, but you still got a kidney to worry about, a heart to worry about, a brain to worry about, a nervous system to worry about. Right. And so let's make sure we take control of the whole pie. Right. And not just pieces of it.